for the galleon. But let's have a butchers here. So first up for the riders, we have the Sorrow piloted by Finks. It is a watcher fish, front watcher, left side carronade, right side Gatling. And also for the riders, we have Luosi piloting the Sorrow. It has a left side lumberjack, heavy flak Hades, a rear beacon, and a right side carronade watcher. Over to you, Waters.
And for the other riders team, we got the Dragon's Rage, piloted again by Exilion, with Hawacha double carronades, riders specialty, and Squid, same one as before, piloted by Arius, right? The Manhat with a Banshee in the front, Gatling on the side, and a Banshee on the side, on the back. And they switched the Banshee in the front for the carronade in the front for the Banshee.
That makes a certain amount of sense. Bit of extra kill power, less need for locking down vertically the opposition, I suspect here. Arius trying, and more range, of course. Arius is trying to drag the Sorrow away from the Lib ATK. The dragon is coming in. They eat all of the Watcher. They have no armor. This Dragon's Rage is not in a cheerful place, and they're about to be Watched again. Oh, Dragon's Rage suffers another armor break. They bump with the Menhet. Sorrow turning to face the Menhet. It's got to continue fighting here. It can't withdraw, because if it does, it will leave its ally to die. Its ally's just been popped. They've both been watched. They're both disabled. Down goes the Dragon's Rage, and now Menhet is sitting there. No substantial maneuverability due to that Watcher to the backside. They're getting lumberjacked. They're about to be Watched. Does the Watcher get the engines? It does. They are stationary. They are a sitting duck for that galleon.
They have no balloon. This looks terrible for poor Manhat. I feel sorry for that Skid at the moment.
It's not in the happiest place, is it? Oh, now the heavy flax. Will the heavy flax hit, or will Menhet manage to get away? Another Watcher into the backside ensures that they're not running any... Well, the fact that they're in 17 different pieces also ensures that they're not running anywhere. That's 2-0. That's true. Yes, I mean, assuming they survived that rather steep fall, they can run in the snow. Maybe make themselves some snow angels or snowmen. They won't be killing the Sorrow and the Lib ATK with those two ships. They'll need their shiny 2 new ones that are no doubt being spawned as we speak.
I mean, it should be said that it's mandatory to have a parachute with you as a crew member of an airship, but most airship crew opt out on it, as it does impair movement speed, and therefore a whole new crew has to be spawned in from a different place.
Indeed, I've just been informed that we had the brackets up throughout that. I apologise if they were covering any of the action. I wonder how they cloned the crew members, because they've got to be sort of teleported in some way or something, because the process respawns them even if you just jump off the ship.
Right. So it might some sort of like a special Guns of Icarus teleporting system. Scotty might be in charge of this. I'm not sure how they run this. I'm not even sure if this is in the past or in the future. That might be something they should look into, maybe in the lore or.
I like to think that actually what's happening is that there's a crossover between... Oh, well, we'll have to finish that off later, because the Lib ATK is taking some fire from the Mehmet. They're pretty well chemmed, so they're not going to worry about that. Dragon's Rage, on the other hand, there's chem if you're being hit by fire. There's no chem that'll stop balloon popping. They're going to have to pull back and get out of those lumberjack arcs. Mehmet is incoming. The Sorrow doesn't look chem to me. Well, their balloon is chem, which is probably all they're super concerned about at the moment. Dragon's Rage.
It seems like they kind of lured in the Squid. Sorry, the Manhat. But now his teammate is coming in. He does suffer an armor break and a balloon break, so that's not looking good for poor Dragon's Rage. He does.
Yeah. So here's what I was talking about. Now the Menhet has a damaged balloon, their ally is falling. They've managed to get gun arcs on the Lib ATK, but they have limited maneuverability and they find themselves facing 2 Watchers. This might be a double kill here, as Dragon's Rage is bottomed out. Dragon's Rage dies, as does the Squid. Ouch.
One could see there for a second there. There was some great dual side, like use of both sides on the galleon by the lib. So that's not always easy to do, but it was well done with the lib 80k, 80k.
And now we've got a pause because the pilot of the Dragon's Rage DC'd. That might go some way towards explaining why there was limited dodging of the lumberjack on the way in there. And so we're sat here, sort of watching a pair of ships. So this is interesting. One of the things of the pause rules is. Are there any circumstances where they provide a distinct advantage or disadvantage? And I think there's a disadvantage here for Finks and for Luosi, because the spawn timer would be counting down right now and the enemy ships couldn't move off their spawn, which would give these two ships an opportunity to reposition somewhere where the enemy doesn't know their location. Now, of course, in this situation here, where you've got a DC and you've got to have a pause, they can spawn back in, they know where the opposition is, there's no opportunity for the Lib 80k and the Sorrow to relocate. And so there's a sort of information advantage handed to the to Zidion and to Arius.
Right. And on top of that, they got the altitude advantage, which does give them a slight advantage, not against the lumberjack, but against howachas and gatlings, of course.
That's also true. I mean, there'd be a temptation to rise up. In fact, that's exactly what both these ships are doing as the game is on pause. They're gaining altitude. Lib 80k only a little bit, but the Sorrow rising right the way up to probably 70-80% of the flight ceiling. Dragon's Rage and Menhead are incoming. Dragon's Rage is managing to get around the lumberjack there, although I think a Hades shot just hit. Menhead's firing from range. Dragon's Rage is getting in high. I mean, if Dragon's Rage pops down, they're still going to have to take whatever it is that the Sorrow fires into them, unless the Menhead manages to charge and distract them. Let's have a look at the separation here. It's about over 1400 meters there. The Menhead is backing up a little bit, but the Dragon's Rage and the Sorrow are exchanging fire. If the disables go down on the Dragon's Rage, that is if they do manage to find themselves in a position where they have no engines or balloon, then falling into that galleon's arcs will be very unpleasant. Sorrow going low, Menhead is incoming. They've managed to dodge most of the Watchers. They might manage to get a temporary 2v1 on Sorrow here. The Lib 80k is rising up. The Sorrow is dropping down, pulling their enemies into the gun arcs of the Dragon's Rage. They get a flare onto the Dragon's Rage balloon and onto their armor. I don't know if they were properly chemmed there or not. It doesn't look like their hull was chemmed, but I think their balloon was. Lib 80k has suffered an armor break and is getting bansheed, but the Dragon's Rage is now trying to back up.
They did get a secondary of hardcover, the Dragon's Rage from the galleon, and they managed to separate the Sorrow from the galleon at the moment. So they might be able to 2v1 the Sorrow. Unfortunate for them, the galleon has repositioned themselves a tiny bit to stay out of that hard cover.
Yeah, now the Dragon's Rage is going to lose its balloon. The Sorrow is suffering an armor break and is being shot to crap by the Menhead. Menhead hiding behind the Sorrow from those lumberjacks. Watcher incoming from the Dragon's Rage. Oh, another break on the Sorrow.
They did manage to disable that Hawacha with that Hawacha barrage from the Dragon's Rage. So that's a good gunner right there.
Oh, but the Menhead is bottoming out. The Dragon's Rage has suffered an armor break, but they're okay. Their armor's back up. Oh, Menhead. Oh, ouch. That's, yeah, Sorrow feeds a full barrage of Watcher into the Menhead. Menhead rising up. The Sorrow is probably severely tempted to turn around and engage the Dragon's Rage unless they think that they can get the kill here. On the other hand, the Dragon's Rage is opening up on the Lib 80k. The Lib 80k is in reasonable shape for the time being. Their armor is in good condition. They have suffered some severe damage to their guns, and now they've lost their balloon. Menhead exchanging fire with the Sorrow. Sorrow suffers an armor break. This could be going back around the other way, as the Sorrow and the Lib 80k are both getting pretty badly brutalized here. Lib 80k losing their balloon. Oh, down goes the squid. Menhead, sorry, not the squid. The goldfish. Fish is down. Menhead has managed to finish that off, and now the Lib 80k is pinned. They're getting rammed. This is probably going to be 2 points to Arius and Zidion.
Right, and it's important to note that they are on the blue side of the spawn, so it will make it easy, or it'll make it hard for the Sorrow to re-engage in time to save their ally. Nevertheless, it is Galleon, so it does have a lot of health. As I say this, the Lib 80k does eat a whole Hawacha. Their engines are down, all their guns are down. They do a desperate attempt to moonshine, but without engines, I wasn't going to bring them far.
As I was going to say, I have a feeling the tense of that statement was wrong. They had a lot of health. Oh, and down they go. The Lib 80k is destroyed. The Menhet suffered a fair chunk of damage in that engagement, though. They're below 50% perma-hull. If the next engagement goes the same way, then Lou and Finks will be going through. They'll want to try and keep their squid from suffering that kind of fire again. The Sorrow has spawned in. They're hiding low to the east. There's a substantial chunk of distance there. The Lib A has spawned in and is spotted by the Dragon's Rage and the Menhet. The Sorrow is breaking off to engage the Menhet, and the Dragon's Rage is engaging the Lib 80k. I'm not entirely sure what the idea behind that spawn was. I think it was to get the Sorrow in behind, but the Menhet manages to change into it to engage. The Lib 80k is, well, their right side guns are up is the thing. They do eat a Watcher, which has taken all of those guns out now, though, and the Dragon's Rage still has most of its balloon. The Menhet has suffered a some Watcher. Oh, their armor breaks and they suffer a Watcher. Indeed, they're not in great shape. They're getting carronaded in the balloon. It looks like the Watcher's being lined up again. Another Watcher barrage comes in. That's enough to kill them. The ram finishes them off, and that's victory to the Riders under Luosi and Finks. The Riders under Zidion and Arius will be joining us in the bottom bracket.